I'm going to tell you the story of how my ex-wife, Lena, spent 4 years systematically dismantling my life and robbing me blind, only for her own father, the man who hated my guts, to hand me the ultimate redemption in a battered leather briefcase. The sight of that briefcase still gives me chills. It was ugly, old, and completely unexpected. But what was inside it didn't just change my financial situation. It completely shattered my perception of reality and served up a justice so sweet it was almost sickening. Was I wrong for using the explosive information I found to completely and utterly destroy the life she had built on lies? Tell me honestly if you would have chosen forgiveness over absolute, devastating revenge. Because for me, there was no choice. My name is Jake, and I was, for all intents and purposes, living the American dream. I was 35, a self-made man who started a tech logistics company from scratch and hit it big during the last economic boom. By the time I met Lena, I was comfortably wealthy. Lena was a whirlwind, beautiful, charming, charismatic. The kind of woman who commanded every room she walked into. We had a whirlwind romance, the kind that feels like a movie. She seemed genuinely supportive of my career, my dreams, and my slightly nerdy obsession with vintage watches. Within 2 years, we were married, and to celebrate, we bought the house, a stunning $3.8 million mansion nestled in the hills with a panoramic view of the city. I put the entire cost down in cash, a testament to my success, and a decision I would come to regret every single day for a very long time. Looking back, the signs were there, but I was blinded by love, or perhaps just infatuation. Lena came from old money, but her family's wealth had reportedly dwindled. Her father, Mr. Harrison, was a stern, intimidating man, a retired corporate lawyer who never once pretended to like me. He saw me as a nouveau rich upstart, not good enough for his precious daughter. He was cold, constantly criticizing my background and my industry. Lena always defended me, brushing off his harshness as just dad being dad. And that only made me love her more. I focused on my work, poured every ounce of my effort into growing my company, trusting Lena implicitly to handle the domestic side of our life. The renovations, the household staff, and managing our personal investments. About 4 years into our marriage, things began to change. Lena grew distant, constantly taking exotic wellness retreats with her friends, and her phone was suddenly always private. When I brought it up, she accused me of being controlling and jealous. The passion was gone, replaced by a cold indifference that chilled me to the bone. Then came the bombshell. She wanted a divorce. I was devastated. I loved that woman, but her reasons were vague. She claimed we'd grown apart, that I was too focused on work, that she needed space and happiness. I agreed to an amicable split, thinking we could handle it maturely. I was wrong. Lena, armed with a ruthless, shark-like lawyer, who, incidentally, was a former partner of her father's firm, went straight for the jugular. Because the mansion was purchased during our marriage, even though I paid for it entirely before the wedding paperwork was finalized, and because she was technically unemployed and claimed she had given up her promising career to manage our home life, a career that, in reality, amounted to a brief stint at a boutique gallery. The divorce laws in our state were brutal. She demanded the house, claiming it was her sanctuary, the emotional center of her life, and a fair trade for her lost earning potential. My own legal team fought hard, but the system, coupled with her cunning lawyer, left me exposed. In the end, the judge sided with her. Lena walked away with the $3.8 million mansion, a huge chunk of my liquid assets, and a significant amount of monthly alimony. I was forced out of my own home, left with my business and a severely depleted bank account, feeling like a complete fool. The betrayal was crushing, but the financial hit felt like a mortal wound. I had to sell my classic car collection just to keep my company afloat after the settlement. I was homeless in my own city, staying in a dismal corporate apartment, watching my ex-wife pose on Instagram in the house I built for her. The next few months were a nightmare. I threw myself into work, fueled by resentment, trying to rebuild the fortune I had lost. I was bitter, angry, and convinced that every woman was just waiting for the right moment to fleece me. I avoided every social interaction, sinking deeper into a miserable pit of self-pity and fury. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, about 4 months after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting in my corporate apartment, staring out the window, when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find the last person on earth I ever expected to see, Mr. Harrison, Lena's father. He stood there, impeccably dressed as always, but his face was drawn and looked older, wearier. My first instinct was to slam the door. I hadn't spoken to him since the divorce. He hadn't attended the hearing, but I knew he was tracking every detail. "What do you want, Mr. Harrison? Here to gloat about the house?" I spat, the bitterness unmistakable in my voice. He didn't flinch. He simply held out an old, worn, dark brown leather briefcase, the kind you see in black and white movies. It had brass latches and looked like it had been through a war. "I didn't come here to gloat, Jake," he said, his voice surprisingly soft. "I came to give you this. It belongs to you. She took everything else, but she won't take this." He pushed the briefcase into my hands. It was heavy. Before I could ask what was inside or what he meant, he turned his back and walked away without another word, disappearing into the city crowd. I stood in my hallway, staring at the case, my mind racing. Why would he do this? The man who publicly despised me, the man who was likely thrilled his daughter, had secured such an enormous settlement. I took it into the kitchen, my hands shaking. The latches were stiff. I pried them open. Inside, it wasn't money or gold. It was documentation. Hundreds of pages of meticulous, detailed records, bound ledgers, and a stack of printed emails. At the very top was a handwritten note from Mr. Harrison himself. It was brief. Proof. Look closely at the dates. My conscience is clearer than my daughter's. I spent the next 48 hours in a haze, barely sleeping, poring over the documents. They told a story of a long con, a carefully orchestrated financial fraud that began long before I met Lena. The key was the dates. The documents proved that Lena hadn't been an innocent housewife. She had been, for years, funneling large sums of money from a trust fund her mother had established for her, using the funds to pay off significant, undisclosed gambling debts her family had amassed. Worse, the documents revealed that her supposed brief stint at a boutique gallery was a complete fabrication. She had actually been an expert witness in an insurance fraud case, and the dates of her testimony directly contradicted the timeline she presented in our divorce proceedings, which claimed she was working on our renovations. The bombshell, however, was in the emails. Correspondence between Lena and her first divorce lawyer, dated 3 months before we even got married. The emails were chillingly clear. They were essentially a premeditated plan to identify a wealthy, single man, marry him, establish residency in a common law property state, and then divorce him quickly to secure a substantial financial settlement, all to cover her family's mounting liabilities. She had chosen me, the mansion, the marriage. It was all a financial transaction. The documents proved she had committed perjury in court regarding her employment history and her intent at the time of the marriage. a massive legal offense. So that's the situation I was in. I had the truth, the evidence, and the key to a legal nuclear bomb that could obliterate Lena and her family's reputation. I had lost everything, but now I had the power to take it all back, and then some. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have gone straight for the jugular, exposing the perjury and the premeditated fraud to reclaim your money and your dignity? Or would you have held the documents as leverage, forcing a private settlement to avoid a public scandal? I'd love to know what you think, because the decision I made was the most significant of my life. I looked at the house I had lost, the business I almost bankrupted, and the 4 years of my life she had stolen, and I knew what I had to do. Private settlement, no. She had publicly humiliated me and taken my life's work. She deserved the full, unfiltered truth to come crashing down on her head. I hired a new legal team, one specializing in complex fraud and perjury. We moved fast and quietly. We didn't file a new motion for divorce. We filed a motion to *** vacate the existing judgment ***, based on overwhelming evidence of extrinsic fraud upon the court. When Lena received the new legal documents, her response was initially dismissive arrogance. She assumed I was making a last-ditch, bitter attempt to harass her. Her lawyer laughed it off. That laughter stopped dead when they received the discovery package containing the briefcase's contents. The dated emails detailing the premeditated scheme, the trust fund records, the evidence of perjury regarding her employment, and most damningly, a sworn affidavit from Mr. Harrison himself. Yes, her own father had provided sworn testimony confirming the documentation's authenticity and his daughter's fraudulent intent. The confrontation was brutal. We weren't in a courtroom, but in a judge's chambers for a confidential meeting to assess the case's merits before it exploded publicly. Lena, Clara, and her lawyer were pale with terror. My lawyer laid out the case. This wasn't just a divorce dispute. This was a criminal-level fraud case. My lawyer explained that not only could the judgment be vacated, meaning the house and all assets would revert back to me, but that the State Bar would be notified of the fraud upon the court, and criminal charges for perjury and fraud were a very real possibility for Lena. Lena's composure finally cracked. She went from cold disdain to hysterical tears, shouting that her father was a traitor and that I was trying to ruin her. Her lawyer, defeated and recognizing the irreversible damage, held up a hand. "Your Honor," he stammered, we can settle this immediately." I looked Lena straight in the eyes, no emotion left in me, just cold clarity. No settlement. I wanted everything. The judge, seeing the clear evidence, confirmed that the judgment would be vacated. The original settlement was null and void. The house was mine again. All the liquidated assets she had taken were to be immediately returned, or their equivalent value seized. The aftermath was exactly what I deserved, and exactly what she deserved. Within 2 months, Lena was forced to vacate the $3.8 million mansion. She lost every penny of the alimony and asset split. The scandal became public not through the courts, but through the legal grapevine. A major local paper got wind of the fraudulent heiress' story. Lena's social standing evaporated overnight. Her family was disgraced. Their old money reputation was shattered by the revelation of their gambling debts and their daughter's criminal scheme. As for Mr. Harrison, his reasons were complex. He later sent me a short email explaining that he may have hated me, but he hated a liar and a cheat more, especially one who would risk the family name for a selfish scam. He said he saw the corruption in Lena and knew she had to be stopped for his own peace of mind. He found a strange kind of honor in his final, painful betrayal of his daughter. I moved back into the mansion, which felt sterile and haunted initially, but slowly I reclaimed it. The money I recovered allowed my company to expand massively. I learned a terrible, expensive lesson, but I walked away not just with my fortune, but with a new, steel-plated layer of cynicism and wisdom. I didn't get a happy ending where I found my soulmate. I got a just ending where I found my strength. The old leather briefcase still sits on a shelf in my office, a permanent, ugly trophy of the war I won. It's a constant reminder that sometimes the most generous gifts come from the people who hate you the most, and sometimes the kindest things a mother can do is raise a daughter who is capable of anything, and the kindest thing a father can do is stop her. This whole experience taught me that true power isn't in how much you earn, but in how meticulously you keep records, and that karma, when delivered with a good lawyer, is truly satisfying. So, that's my story: the mansion, the betrayal, and the shocking briefcase. I hope it was a lesson for everyone out there about vetting your partners and always trusting your gut, even when you're blinded by love. If you agree that Lena got exactly what she deserved, please like this video. Subscribe for more stories of justice and betrayal like this, and share your final thoughts on Mr. Harrison's shocking role in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.